All right, hey guys, what is going on? And for this month of October, because we're just about on the end of the horror movie month, we're doing more franchise rankings. So this time is gonna do one for one of my favorite franchise, The Scream, and then probably tomorrow and headed into the next following month, I'm gonna do more rankings like this. So tomorrow I'm probably gonna do the Alien movies. And so this time we're doing Scream, and this has been one of my favorite franchises. Kevin Williamson, Wes Craven, both been responsible for a lot of these installments and properties, the stories that they have told, and I'm glad and happy to give you guys this ranking because I've been watching this franchise since I was like 8 years old. So I wanted to do this because this is something I always was invested in and interested in and doing. And so we already got 6 installments, and the latest one will be coming out, I believe, in the next following year in 2026. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how part 7 goes. So now let's get into the ranking for the Scream movies from worst to best. We're going to start with coming in the last place, and we're going to talk about is Scream 3. Now, this movie is not as particularly bad as a lot of people at the time would like to think. I just think it's such a different feeling and a different take on Ghostface. So we go to Sydney, who pretty much is out of Westboro right now. She's in a guarded seclusion, and of course, bodies begin dropping as a new stab movie was pretty much being put on the screen, and Dewey and Gale pretty much are not like together in this movie at all, but they get together later on and then in the movie. But Dewey is now a security guard for this upcoming stab movie, and he's got another like look-alike people that plays Gale Weathers and Sidney Prescott with him, and he ends up inviting, and Gale Weathers ends up pushing herself back into the fold when you see more gruesome Woodsboro killings. Then, of course, the escalating terror of Ghostface finally comes out of hiding and it forces Sidney Prescott and the rest of the crew and Woodsboro survivors once again drawn into the conclusion of a Insidious game of more horror movie mayhem. So for Scream 3, that's pretty much what happened. And also they related things back to, of course, the director of these stab movies and director of a lot of great horror movies in the past, um, was responsible for pushing the career of Sidney Prescott's mother. I believe her name was Maureen Prescott, but she posed herself as a actress in other films of this long time filmmaker and director. So this they thought that he had responsibilities of what happened, but it turns out what you saw in that film was actually the son who actually is trying to get new actresses, trying to get new people to come into his to try to get new people, new actresses, and new like stars to come into his latest stab movie. It turns out they was looking into him as a primary suspect and him having responsibilities of what happened to a lot of the recent killings in Woodsboro, which brings Sidney Prescott out of hiding and you know brings the Ghostface killer out into the light. This movie at the time, I enjoy it for the sake of the entertainment more than the sake of the quality of the film. I feel like this film did not it just didn't meet the expectations of what you saw from the first 2 installments. And I think it came out at a time where a lot of films were already treading the steps of, you know, the Ghostface killer, but the urban legend kind of story, and this one kind of took the bare bones of it, and it didn't really mount to as much as you would have thought. And yeah, it didn't really mount to what I was expecting and what the audience was expecting. So this film just did not have as much replay value, but it was entertaining, to say the least. It was entertaining. I did have a good time watching it. But comparison to the other installments, I don't think this film had the amount of value for audiences to really push themselves further and to really care. And that, to me, did not bode well for the sake of the quality of the sequel. I think it could have. The only thing I would say is it should have waited. It should have came out at a different time, a different year, or at least, in my opinion, come around the same time as Scream 2, and really would have been a follow versus coming out 3 years later, and it didn't really like stick the landing and stick the landing for hits, and it hit. But it did change the landscape for a lot of films leaning forward. A lot of found footage stuff, came around at that time. The paranormal feel, yeah, that's what I believe this film did, and unfortunately, it just did not, as far as have a lasting effect. Now, coming in at number 5 is actually Scream 5, or Scream, from 2022. Now, the reason why this film still enjoyable, to say the least, and the one thing that I really did like about this film is it completely diverted and subverted your expectations. And the reason why I say that it diverted and subverted your expectations was it was a couple of kills that he didn't expect. Of course, Randy Meeks' niece, Mindy, pretty much was the main orchestrator of this new group of survivors, Woodsboro survivors, and she was trying to lead the team into doing some things that actually put into an effect of having to find out more about these killings. And I like the fact when she was speaking, when she was talking, and she made a lot of points about the current state of films and this current Ghostface killing and how he's trying to convert a lot of modern horror into adapting into today's time frame. She mentions stuff like the Babadook. I think she mentions I think Mindy, she mentions stuff about oh shit, I can't remember the films now, but she mentions a lot of modern day horror films from like the early 2010s. I think she even mentions The Conjuring. But correct me if I'm wrong if you guys have seen it, because it's been a while since I've seen Scream 5 or Scream 2022. But yeah, I think she does a lot of homages to other previous films in this one. I did like the fact that you saw one of the OG characters did go out. At first, I wasn't really the hugest fan of it and how it done it, but the way it kind of played itself out, it was pretty interesting to me, really intriguing, and it showed me that it don't matter a lot of the OG characters, it don't matter if you're OG characters, if you're new characters, Ghostface does not pick and choose any kind of killings. If you've seen all the films, you will know that he goes after people that feel like it's an opposing threat to him or opposing threat to it or whoever is behind it. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing I like it, and then more of the mysterious aspect, the mysterious factor. Yeah, I think this film definitely has that for it, but I just don't think it has aged as well as a lot of fans of this franchise would like to believe. I don't think it's aged as well. I think there was a lot of things that went on with it that just it just did not happen. It just wasn't a huge factor. So yeah, that was my number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have is the latest Scream film, and that is Scream 6. And the one reason I take this film a lot over the other 2 installments is, number 1, I love the location and the setting that this film took, and it took place in Manhattan and New York, man. I love the setting and I love the location of it, and I actually do kind of enjoy from what part 2 did with the double killing. I thought that was always genius, and even in the first film when it had the double killings, this time you reveal, and then of course in the movie it was a couple of slashes. Ghostface slashed one guy, and slashed one guy, and he slammed his head into some more of like some actual like plate of glass. Then he actually slams, and then he slams another guy in the film until towards the back window, and then he, I mean, it's a lot of funny moments in part six where of Ghostface. There was a lot of funny moments. Then it was a return of a main character that was one of my favorite characters in in this film, and that is Kirby. Her character in this film makes a surprise return. She's one of the, you know, FBI agents, and boy, this was a fantastic return for her to return to form. I really enjoyed that involved the day in and day out, man. That was a really surprising and really good moment for her. Um, now the reveal of the reveal of the Ghostface killers, I wasn't the hugest fan of it, but I believe it was in relation to um, what happened towards. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'm gonna get my. I got the wrong. Okay. All right. Yeah. So in that film, it was basically a response. So the characters in Scream Six that was in relation, like Laura and the new, like the son of Billy Loomis from the original film, and then of course it's a response. It was a response killing to what happened to their brother and their friend and loved one Richie Kirsch, played by Jack Quaid. So it was a response to what happened with him, and it turns out one of the FBI agents and detectives was pretty much putting an absolute hit around and hit out on Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega's characters in the film, and they were pretty much long-lasting Tara and Sam. So they was putting an effect on Tara and Sam as a way of just saying as a revenge factor of what they did in killing Richie and what they did in killing Mikey Madison's character in the film. And yeah, it was a response calling to what happened with them. And so that pretty much was a response. So I wasn't really the hugest fan of the reveal of the Screen Killers, and quite frankly, I had this movie so high, a little bit higher than what most fans think. That was actually one of the only few things why I didn't have this film a lot higher than most others, because I wasn't the hugest fan of the killing reveals and in response calling towards. So that would be my thing and why I take a little bit of points off. But other than that, I think this film is very interesting, and it definitely is a calling, just like Part Five was, a calling to a lot of modern horror and a calling to a lot of slasher flicks before its time, which already was setting the trend for the '90s and up. About trends as far as what horror and what slasher flicks is supposed to be like, and then of course you saw what the Fear Street trilogy did. In light of all that, I think this was very a starting point, and Part Six really added the fuel to the flames with that. All right, so let's go to number three. So my number three Scream movie is actually Scream Four. Now this film, like a lot of people, uh, caught everybody off by surprise because this is 11 years prior to the early installments of it, and a lot of people kind of not amused from it because it took place. Sidney Prescott is pretty much writing her book, just like Gail Weathers is, and Dewey and Gail pretty much I think they're already married in this film, if I'm not mistaken. And then of course it's different because the whole city is like revamped and modernized. Um, it looks way different. Chicago, the city, parts of Chicago is way different than what you saw in earlier parts in the early Woodsboro. Like it looks completely different. Um, There's no Billy Loomis. There's no signs. There's nothing relation back to that film at all. Uh, and this is a different thing because, Sidney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell, um, she sees she ends up meeting her niece, ends up meeting her grandmother and everything like that. And then when she finally encounters them and has a conversation and talks with them, she relates them back to the book she's reading. She relates back to her story, her ability, and her being one of the survivors, lone survivors. And then more killings happen with the Ghostface. More Ghostface killings happen in this film, but they all kind of had that little mysterious kind of feel. And also, what I really like about this film is this is what's the setting trend on like social media. Like a lot of things that happens on social media, and a lot of things are recording more like on phones and whatnot, and taking place in a lot of eras when it comes to modern horror. From the Insidious, the Saw movies, and everything. It happens because when you see this film, it pushes the envelope. It pushes the envelope when it comes to just the digital age, the internet age. And I really like that about this film. It's because it pushes the internet age and the digital age way straightforward, way much to the forefront, and everything left and right. And it puts it in perspective. And then not only that, but it puts it in perspective. You don't really know exactly who could be in responsibility of all these killings that's going on from Ghostface. And then also the other thing, there wasn't no making of any kind of stab moves or whatnot. This was a film that was more or less watching a lot of old horror classic flicks, and it also took place in a time where an adaptation where you end up meeting Jill and Kirby and their friends and whatnot. It's more like the teen pressure and the anxiety and everything left for interpretation and straightforward. And that's what I love about Scream 4 is that it pushes the envelope and it really takes place in a different society and a different take, and also pushes the envelope when it comes to a lot of modern trends that's out here, but it does it in a way where it's inventive and creative rather than being a bottom tier and a lower end of the totem pole, or it's a stepping stone, a step forward in the right direction. So yeah, that was my number 3 film. Now let's go to my number 2 film, and that is, of course, Scream 2. Scream 2 took place such in a time where, and as you can see, I got the DVD with me. It took place in such a modern time where you end up having a lot of follow up, and of course, Sydney, her friends, was in college. Now, Dewey pretty much also in college as well. Lee Striver is Cotton Weary. Of course, one of my favorite performances, Jamie Kennedy, is Randy Meeks. They all in college at this point. They're all trying to make a name and establish for themselves. And what I love about this movie, that Scream 2 has some of the most gruesome killings I've seen in slasher films in quite some time. I mean, the killings in this film was crazy, especially in the beginning, where Jada Pinkett Smith is like in the actual movie theater in the movie hall, and boy, oh boy, does she get absolute, she get absolute stabbed in the absolute gut. I mean, oh my goodness, and how she just bleeds out and just like ends up siding and ends up falling out, in the movie theater while the audience is going crazy, and while everybody just like starts running because they actually thought it was a fake posing Ghostface killer, which it was. Then there was an actual Ghostface killer in there. It was just interesting and intriguing, man. Oh my gosh, like that was insane. Oh hey, Jason, Todd, and Batman, and Carson, F&A, how's it going? But yeah, the fact that happens in the beginning part of the film where Jada Pinkett Smith ends up getting just stabbed and all in all kinds of places, man. And also, I believe, let me, yeah, I thought I was thinking that somebody else makes an appearance. I cannot. Yeah, I think Omar Epps does make an appearance in this film. Yeah, he does. So that was a really good appearance. That was a really good appearance by Omar Epps in this film as well. So I really like that in here. Uh, he also get cast members, of course, from Sarah Michelle Gellar, Laurie Metcalf. Let me see. Yeah, and this is also taking place with in between, before like in between. I Know What You Did Last Summer and then next year, Urban Legend, which again, all these films took place and really was encapsulated because of what happened with the earlier franchise. And like I said before about Part Four, when it comes to setting the trend and setting the mold for modern horror, I feel like Scream Two was the catalyst of it, and it became that. And also, um, Gail Weathers as a reporter and Dewey, they kind of like, you know, they were kind of feeling each other, later on. They kind of was really digging each other. But then at the same time, Sydney, as she figures out that one of the killers is the friends that she ends up seeing and befriending with and really having a good time and spending along with in college, it ends up turning out that one of them ends up becoming one of the stab killers, and they all were kind of shocked, and we all kind of had a shock and a lasting effect, which is we end up figuring out, of course, Mickey, played by Timothy Oliphant, who also is in here. He plays a really good villain, and he also, like many, as you see it all the times in the news, a lot of one of out of a one of every 1,000 serial killers happens to be one that's always the ones that's closest to you that can always do you wrong and steer you wrong and steer you in the wrong area. And it happened to be Mickey, and it happened to be one of them, and that was insane, and that was crazy. And then also turns out that Billy Loomis's mother in the film that makes the appearance, I believe that's played by Laurie Metcalf, if I'm not mistaken. That was something insane. You was not expecting that part, which really hits it home. So that would be my number two, and of course my number one film happens to be the original Scream, as you can see right here. Yes, this film is a absolute modern horror classic. This film set the trend for everything that has happened in the franchise. Like this film is brilliant. Like the killings was brilliant. The whole found footage scene, the whole flashback to Sydney's mother, and the whole flashback to their father and their encounter with that. Uh, Dewey and Gale, all their appearance, David Arquette and of course Courtney Cox. The killing that what happened in the beginning with Casey Becker, played by Drew Barrymore, and answering a phone call like, "Oh, what's your favorite scary movie?" That line was just insane. Like everything about this movie was brilliantly done and brilliantly made, and just overall, like I had a really enjoyable time watching this. And oh, hey Dub, hey Andrew Walker, hey, what's going on? Salute to you. Appreciate you coming by, stopping by, and appreciate everybody coming and stopping by as well. But yeah, what I did like and appreciate about the original Scream, of course, like I said before, is the beginning. Casey Becker, Drew Barrymore, the killing. What happened with her answering the phone call of the actual Ghostface killer calling, but she didn't even have anywhere about an idea. And then, of course, the whole scene where Randy is talking with Billy, and of course Randy is talking with Dewey, like who could be the stab killer, who could be the actual killer. Like, oh my gosh, it was just absolutely funny, and it was absolutely insanely good. Um, you just had to be aware and be alive at the time when this film came out. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't alive when this came out, just a few years after. But when I first had got money to go buy these movies, this was one of the main things this is one of the main franchises that I had got, and it's because watching this original film and this original film becoming a masterpiece. It really made it worthwhile. Oh, you said you ironically watched. I know what you did last summer recently. Oh, what you think of? Oh, what you think about it? A Dub, what you think about it? But yeah, that that was kind of like the biggest inspiration was seeing the first film and really the first Scream movie and really figuring out my love and my passion for horror. It's one reason why I did my channel the way I did it as far as doing movie reviews was because of this franchise. You know, this and of course Evil Dead and Halloween, like those are the main franchises and why I wanted to do this channel and why I wanted to really push into pursuing horror. It's because it did so many things for me as far as laying the groundwork for other films coming after that I enjoyed. Um, that really talk about this whole like stab killings and like gruesome killings and everything like that, and it made it more worthwhile to me, and yeah, it made it more worthwhile. It became phenomenon, and it pretty much launched the careers of all the brightest stars that we saw, and yeah, it became an instant horror classic after what we had saw. So yeah, that was my number one of the Scream franchise of the Scream movies. You said it was great. The new version was good until the end. I gotta give it 3 stars until that end. Oh, I did not like the movie at all, A Dub. I did not like. Um, I know what you did last summer at all. I thought that's why I didn't do a review on it because it was so bad. And the reason why I didn't like it is because number one, I didn't like the new cast members. I didn't like the new cast members at all. I didn't like the new cast members whatsoever. They were all boring. They all bland. They were uninterested. They didn't have anything for me that kept me intrigued and kept my interest. Like everybody was talking about their own personal like issues and toxicity and turmoil, and it just really did not hit for me. So no, I did not like that film at all. And it was ironic because some of my favorite film critics loved this movie, and I don't understand how. I don't get why. It didn't make sense to me. But yeah, I'm like, how do y'all like this? But okay. But yeah, I just was not a huge fan of the new version. Um, the old version of I Know What You Did Last Summer was way better, not even close to that. But if you actually go get a chance to, and if you have not seen this film, but check out Urban Legend, that came out in '98, the original one. That one was a absolute bona fide gem. If you have not seen that, A Dub, I would suggest you check it out, and I would suggest everybody else to check it out if you haven't seen it. Urban Legend, just go look it up and watch it. It's definitely enjoyable watch. Um, the other films that came after it did not live up to it, but yeah, check out that one if you haven't seen it because that's what I feel like was it to me it was better than I know it was better than I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's way better, but yeah, you say oh yeah it's not comparable, but yeah exactly. But yeah, that was my ranking of the Scream movies. I will be doing Alien movies tomorrow. Yeah, of course, absolutely. I always want to steer people in the right direction. But yeah, all right, that is it for me, guys. I'll be getting out of here. Um, I got some more content coming soon, as I am going to see the Chris Stuckman movie, Shelby Oaks. That's coming out and releasing on Halloween as well. It did release on October the 24th, but I am going to go see it tomorrow. So I will be doing that and be putting a review out for you guys. Know a lot of, and I will be doing some answers to questions about it because there's a lot of controversy been surrounding the movie, and after seeing the trailers, I can honestly understand, in some instances why there are criticism, but I'll do more breakdown of it when I talk about the movie itself. But yeah, thank you all for watching. As I will be getting out of here. Salute. Peace.